I really want to talk about self-belief because I think it's like it makes or breaks someone, right? And
Yeah.
it's kind of what we were talking about off camera about like the footballers where
Mm.
you could be in a like a bad team maybe, let's say, but if you think that you're only capable of doing to that level, that quality, then you're only going to get that far, right?
Yeah.
So you have to always have a growth mindset.
Mm.
So with that touch point, are you do you see the vision like of the future of you being like at the place you want to be, or do you ever have doubts as well?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good topic to go into. I suppose I do believe in my like. I think confidence and self-belief is actually something that I have struggled with in the past, and it is something I still struggle with at times now. So
Yeah,
if we're looking at it purely on like career-wise or where I want to be in life, then I'd say majority of the time I do think in that positive mindset of like, no, like I am. If I do X, Y, Z, it will keep getting me to like where I want to get to and so on. But yeah, I think I still do have those doubts of like what might either get in the way, like what I feel like is a barrier, or what if I'm not good enough, um, or that sometimes that I suppose this is a topic in itself that
yeah,
because life is unfair, and that's something we've spoken about before. Um, what if it's unfair in the way that like we view it as well? Because sometimes
yeah,
we have the formula of right, all right, if you just keep working hard, then you will get to where you want to get to. But then sometimes, and I've come across people where like they have worked hard all their life, and it's
yeah.
just not in maybe in the right area, or it's the right time for them, or
Okay,
the right niche, or anything like that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I'm interested to know like your thoughts on that anyway.
yeah. No, that's honestly exactly the same kind of concepts that I was thinking as well.
What about the doubts that you have?
The doubts I have,
Yeah.
but one quote that's always stuck by me since like when I was about a teenager,
Mm.
and it's if you were to say what's one quote that you can just say and that you'll always believe in,
Mm.
it's this one: "Doubt kills more dreams
Uh,
than failure will ever." That's the
right.
quote.
More dreams than failure will level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
there's two ways of thinking about this. Number
Mm.
one, recently when I interviewed that guy Ben,
Mhm.
he gave a you would have watched it by hopefully by later, but
Mhm.
it hasn't been released yet. But
Yeah.
he gave a really good way, and it's so true. Basically, you have to be extremely delusional when you haven't made it at the moment, right? You have to be delusional. And if you look at the top people, let's say Ronaldo at the moment.
Mm.
Do you remember in 2009 or 2008 or what, doesn't actually no 2007,
Mm.
right, where Ronaldo had just come into United.
No, no, it's earlier than that.
He came in 2005, right?
Yeah.
Or 4 5
Yeah, yeah,
season.
maybe. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's say yeah, I can't remember 5
Mm.
6 maybe, where he had an interview with it was Rio Ferdinand and someone else. I can't remember who else.
Mm.
I think you might. I can't remember. But anyway, the video is live, by the way. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. What was it like? Who do you think
It's the
the
best in the
greatest of
world.
all? And then he just said like me.
He said me, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
everyone else was laughing at him.
yeah,
And, everyone's like, oh, come on, Cristiano. Like, just.
yeah. And I remember he used to say he said as well in interviews that like when he was younger in like his kids teams and stuff like that, like they'd say what like what do you want to aim for, I suppose? And he's like to be the best, not even just to be a footballer, but to be the best footballer in the world. And like
Yeah.
they'd all laugh at him and be like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and I suppose when you look at it like that, I suppose yeah, there is an element of delusion. Like if someone said that now, like I think naturally, as much as I don't like to admit it,
Yeah.
as much as I'd want people to pursue it, I think part of me, well, a lot of me would be like, well, the chances of that happening is so slim.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right to say that because
Yeah.
look how competitive it is.
Mm.
But
But you
it's
need to think like that to get
but
to
you
that stage.
exactly
Yeah.
you need to think like that. That's the thing. It's all delusion in the beginning.
Mm.
To start with, it's delusion
Yeah.
because you haven't achieved it. So how can you call it proof or how can
Yeah,
you call
yeah.
it a fact?
Or it's so hard to get to that spot. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So you have to be delusional. That's what
Mm.
Ben said as well. You have to be
Yeah,
delusional.
because if majority of people aren't thinking like that, that's why the majority of people don't get to that stage, right? Like,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
yeah.
And to be honest, I can talk from my point of view where even at my current role,
Mm.
where like I've been kind of mediocre here and there and stuff,
Hmm.
but it was only after I kind of became a bit delusional and like put in a lot of work as a result of being delusional
Mm.
resulted in me seeing that progress within myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was simply it. And for me,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a turning point, and that was only 6, 7 months ago.
Oh wow.
And point of view, but I also believe that the universe is an extremely rewarding place, right?
Mm.
It's actually a rewarding place for those that try, right? If
Well, I'm not so sure about that.
God,
So, I mean, what's your reasoning as why
yeah.
that's a rewarding place?
So, okay, there's two things. First of all, it's a rewarding place, meaning that if you put in the hard work and the effort,
Mm.
right, and you're mentally aware of opportunities, there is no way you can fail. And the reason I say that is because if, let's say randomly, you take a skinny guy, right, or an overweight person, doesn't matter. You put them in the gym, you give them a training plan, you tell them this is what you have to do, this is that much work it's going to require, and this is how long you're going to have to do this for. And you have to give it 100% effort each time, and you have to be able to hit PRs. And regardless of the condition that you're in, mentally, I mean, so if you're tired or lazy or whatever, you must go to the gym. You do that over an X period of time, there is no way you're not going to, for a skinny guy maybe to build muscle, there's no way you're not going to build muscle. For an overweight person to lose weight or whatever, there's no way you're not going to lose weight. It will happen, right? Simply because of the output and the mindset that you have. Now, the second point to add to that, actually, I was talking to Ben about this as well, and he was telling me that to be delusional, you have to know exactly what you want. One time, one of his mentors told him, when he was 19 years old, he said to him that, what car do you want in the future? And Ben was like, I don't know, Ferrari. But then he said, okay, what color is a Ferrari? I don't know, red. All right, what color what are the rims like? Black. What about the steering wheel? How much grip does it have? What about the stitching on the interior? What about the seat belts? What about how is it automatic? Is it manual? How much mileage does it have? You need to know everything to an extremely fine detail. And the reason is, if you don't know what you want, then how are you able to spot the opportunities when they're given to you? So that's what it is. It's the hard work combined with the opportunities, or the spotting of the opportunities, is what creates the success. Because for me, luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah.
Right? That is luck. Opportunities can come here and go, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not prepared to take them, you don't have the luck
Definitely.
factor. So the way I'm thinking is that, so it's all hard work, creating the opportunities, but being perspicacious enough to be able to grab those opportunities when they come.
Right.
What do you think?
So I think I do agree with that concept, and I like to agree with that concept because that's what I suppose keeps me going as well. But I think there's also the element of, if we're looking at, well, life's unfair, and that's going back to the point that we were saying before, and I suppose that's what worries me, I suppose, about the future as well, is that life can be unfair, and I've spoken to people who have put lots and lots of effort into their dreams or to whatever they want to fulfill in life.
Yeah.
But so sometimes it's a perspective thing. So they had this idea that I want to reach here, and they've still done really well, but haven't got to that point that they thought they were going to get to. So then it doesn't feel like they have made it in their head, when in reality it has. So then maybe that's a perspective thing. But then there's other people who just haven't made it at all, and it just has not worked.
Okay.
So then you think, oh yeah, because life is unfair. Like, it's not going to work for everyone who just puts like loads of hard work into something, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense, and I completely agree. There's going to be a big portion of dreams that are not going to happen. But I think don't you think it's just down to their self-belief though? Because if they have like an ounce of doubt in their mind, it just leaks everywhere. It's like what's it called? A bug. It will take over everything. Don't you think that? Like, it will.
I think that can be an element of it. But then I think there's people that do have that belief in themselves and so on.
Yeah.
But still don't make it.
Okay.
Or at the point where they haven't made it yet, because I suppose you can look at it into perspective of, well, if you keep going, or maybe if you change the plan, then you can get to that stage, and that's when I suppose you're regaining that control.
Yeah.
But they might have done all the right things up until that point, but because life can be unfair sometimes, or maybe it's not the right.
No, life is 100% unfair.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not going to dispute that. I 100% believe life is unfair. But
Yeah.
It's the way you position yourself. And I understand that what you mean is like sometimes you might feel like, you've tried everything. But if you've truly tried everything, you should be there though. No?
Yeah, but then if life's unfair, then sometimes it's not as maybe.
That's a good, like, I understand exactly what you mean. So
Yeah,
it's like,
and again, that's a
what
very
came
negative.
first?
I suppose that is a negative way of thinking like
No,
that.
no.
But if we're using that concept, because
Yeah.
I do believe in like what you're saying. I'm not saying that that's completely wrong, but I'm
Yeah.
saying maybe in certain elements that you might always do the right things, but because life is unfair,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't necessarily.
So do you know what this
make
is?
it to where you
Now,
wanna be.
this is actually quite interesting. This is like the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
Because it's either life is unfair, which it is, but it's either like if you've tried everything, you can't fail,
Yeah.
which that's
Yeah.
true as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, which one is it?
Yeah, because I suppose you can look at it in terms of like, oh, I
But-
haven't made it, but then you don't know what your future looks like still, because if you
So
change,
that's what I mean.
change
So
your perspective and so
isn't
on.
it
Yeah.
just all perspective?
But then and I think it is, because if you've tried something and it maybe it's half worked, but just not to the extent that you've want. Say for example me, right?
Okay.
So my fears are that I have this idea in my head of what I want to do
Yeah.
in life and what I want to do in my career
Yeah.
and where I want to be with it and what the business will look like and what I want to be doing and I want to earn or get in, not even earn, I want to get it to a position where, or whatever, I have this idea right in my head.
Yeah.
And I think, well, what if I don't get to that position?
Okay.
Yeah, what would life
So
look
you're
like
you're
then?
having these ideas where you say, what if though? Because like, isn't that it doesn't
But,
take
oh yeah, sorry, I completely was going off track with my point then as I was explaining. But my point is, so perspective. So I might have done all the right things, but then not. So I've got this idea of where I want to go, but then my worry is
Yeah.
that if I don't get to that position, it's like, well, then will I have that feeling of, well, I haven't made it. But then
Yeah.
I also look at it as like, well, that will just make me want to keep going until I get to that position.
Yeah.
Or it might just simply be, like I said, like sometimes life is unfair and it's not always,
Yeah.
like as you want it. And
Okay.
then it's a perspective thing of like accepting that life isn't always fair, but
Unfair,
then
yeah.
still reflecting on, okay, like, well, what do I value still about this life that I've had? And I also might look at it as, and this is something I'm sure you'll agree with, like, if I know that there wasn't anything else that I could have done
Yeah.
in that moment and I have put everything into it,
Yeah.
then there isn't going to be any regrets. If it was like, oh, well, I should have done this or should have done that, or I could have put more time into it, or
Yeah.
I maybe I shouldn't have gone out as much as I
Yeah,
should
then-
have.
then you fear
Then
regret.
that's when that regret comes in.
Okay.
But if I know that I put everything into it,
Yeah.
I'm still not in the position that I'd want to be.
Yeah.
But if I maybe keep thinking like, well, I'll just keep going.
Okay.
Or it's like maybe it's a reality shift of like, or perspective shift in terms of how I view my life, because life is unfair, and maybe it's a acceptance thing then at that stage, because
Yeah.
it might be a different stage of my life where I have to accept or I have to make different sacrifices and so on.
Yeah.
To start to maybe accept that, all right, this is the point where I'm at, and maybe I need to put my focus into other things now, so I can't get to that stage that I
But
wanted
then
to get
okay,
into.
but then that's okay. I get it. It is an acceptance thing, but just what you just said there about
Yeah.
maybe I should just divert my attention and my focus
No,
to something else.
Not. Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
To get to the place I want to get to.
Oh, we're still talking about that. You're
Wait,
still one. So you were not saying that you've got a goal.
Mm.
You think you've tried everything,
Yeah.
but then you realize like life is not fair, whatever. The roadblock comes.
Yeah.
These are all just roadblocks, though, isn't it? It's a mental
True,
roadblock.
but then I might be in the point of my life where it's like I need to put my time or more of my time and energy into
Something else.
into something else that
Yeah.
I have to, that I have responsibilities for at
Okay.
that point. So
Okay.
then that's when maybe life is unfair. But that
Yeah.
still doesn't mean like in my free time I can't
There you can't
still do that.
work on that. Yeah.
So I suppose it is still in that shift of like, well, there's
Yeah.
still more that I can do about it. But it's I suppose it's at what point you look at it, it's like, oh well.
So like, what sacrifices are you willing to make?
yeah.
So then. Okay.
But then
so-
if you look at it as like, well, if I'm not, say in like I have a 10-year plan and I'm not where I want to be in 10 years, but I
Yeah.
look back, so I could look back at, oh, well, I suppose you can say what if for a lot of things.
Yeah.
But then if I know like, right, at the end of the day, I still put my all into it.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe I could have done things differently in hindsight.
Yeah.
But if I know wholeheartedly that, well, I put my all into it and I tried my best as much as I could within that moment.
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, I'm hopefully going to be a lot wiser and whatever, and probably
sure.
look back as, oh, I should have done things this way. It would have been easier if I did things this way.
Yeah.
But it's easier to say it.
But that's
then.
going to happen anyway,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Regardless.
But as long as I knew that at the time and in the moment, I thought I was doing the best thing, I think that brings me comfort. So even if I know that even if I feel like I haven't made it in, or if I am in 10 years, hopefully I feel like I have made it, but in 10 years' time, if I haven't made it and that plan doesn't come true, hopefully it will bring some comfort. It's like, well, I tried everything. I know myself that I tried everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yeah, life is unfair and it's coming to that acceptance, but I'm still going to try to get to that point. Maybe it didn't happen in those 10 years, but maybe it will happen in the next 5 or 10 years.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you can't, yeah, no, I completely get it.
Mm.
I think setting yourself sometimes hard numbers like that is good because it creates a sense of urgency and it gives you like a, I need to get this done. And that means I need to make sure each day I need to put in X amount of, like, a lot of my time and effort working at 100% of my capacity just because you want to hit that, goal. But just because, let's say you hypothetically, you've done everything, you've gone from A to B, but like you've extremely progressed. But it might not take 10 years, it might take 11 years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It might take
you
15.
never know what's around the corner.
You don't know.
I think that's what the best thing I've learned from being in my career is both good and bad, right? Like, if you're in a good spot, you never know what's around the corner. So, yeah, like enjoy the moment, and because unfortunately, bad things happen in life. Life's unfair.
Yeah.
So trying to enjoy the moment and whatever, or enjoy the life that you do have. That if you're happy, but then if you're in a bad spot or you're not where you want to be in life, you never know what's around the corner.
You never know, exactly. Honestly,
there's good things that
one
can
thing
come
is
as happen
promised.
as well, so.
You're gonna have good days and you're gonna have bad days. That is like 100% certain.
Yeah.
Like me and you, and then you as well, technically watching, you will have good days and you will have bad days. Like, that's a hard fact going forward.
Yeah.
But it's just being able to position yourself in the best possible, state of mind to navigate through those is where you become like successful, I think. But I completely get what you mean, man. I actually honestly understand.
So I think, I suppose going back to that self-doubt then is like...
Yeah.
So sometimes, it's to do with maybe life being unfair.
Yeah.
And that's where that self-doubt stems from.
Yeah.
But then if what we've learned, I suppose, from this conversation is like, well, you've just got to view it as like, maybe keep going. Like, you might have an idea in your head and you might be at the age or the time where you thought you were going to be in a different position, but you're not. Maybe, or the goal that you're not at that goal, that you're at. But then who's to say that, like you said, like the next year you won't be there, or the next 5 years you won't be there. Sometimes it's not always the way that you think. So I suppose that worries me in terms of, well, life is unfair, so it might not always go to plan. But then I suppose the way to counteract that is like, well, you just got to keep going until you do get there.
Yeah, I think it's just I just think it's consistency, end of the day, with extremely being delusional and optimistic, having an optimistic mindset. I think also, it's so simple, right? What we've just described is you can apply it right now to this YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
Right now, as we speak, I've got 1.68k subscribers on this channel. You don't know, like, I'm on 143 videos. This might be the 144th.
Yeah.
You don't know how many videos it might take me to hit 10k, right? It might take me 200 videos, but equally it might take me 1,000 videos.
Yeah.
But I will never know until I keep putting in the work, right? So if I keep putting in the work, then the universe will reward me for the actions.
Yeah.
But if I stop putting in that work, then I can only blame myself. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, and if we do look at it in your situation, and it's like, well, if you knew that you put everything into it, and say like you're a few hundred videos down, and you're down the line, and you're still maybe in the same position that you're in now.
Yeah.
That in itself is going to be like, oh man, like I thought I was going to be maybe a bit better and so on, but then if you look back at it, if you first of all reflect of like, well, there's not much more I could do because I am trying to utilize as much time as I can, and I know that I'm putting in a lot of effort and I am working hard and so on. So that in itself might bring about a comfort to keep going.
Yeah.
but then also looking ahead in terms of, well, you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know when, maybe the algorithm works on your side, where more people start to become aware of your channel.
Honestly, you can use the algorithm as a metaphor for life.
Mm,
Right? If you think about it, you can use the algorithm as a metaphor for life, and I'm just literally putting in content, content, content.
yeah.
I don't know whether this will hit 10K.
Mm,
I don't know. But I believe that I can do it.
mhm,
And if I believe that I can't do it, then I know that I won't do it. If there's a bit of doubt in me,
mhm,
or if there isn't confidence in myself,
mm,
then I know it won't happen. Because the reason why I know it won't happen is because down the line I'm more likely to stop
I see what you
or
mean.
give
Yeah.
up. Give up, basically. I'm more likely to give up.
Yeah.
And I think being delusional and not having, well, eliminating as much self doubt as possible
Mm,
allows you to be more consistent
mm,
and allows you to keep going on this journey of
yeah.
unknown. Because the journey, you really do not know what's ahead of you.
Mm,
You're basically driving in the dark with the fog lights on. It's all
mm,
foggy. You can only see like a couple yards ahead of you.
mm,
You cannot see the road, but you just have to keep going. You just have to keep going
yeah.
until,
Trust in yourself, trust in the
yeah, you got to
process.
trust
Like,
in yourself, exactly,
yeah.
until the life starts handing in different pathways or
Mm,
different opportunities, and you've got to be able to spot these opportunities. Like, for example, I'm just saying this as an example. Let's say a big YouTuber comes up and says, "Dill, let's go on a podcast together," and if I said no to that, right, whose fault is that?
mm,
It's my fault. Like, I could have gone on that, I could have expanded my audience,
mm.
but it's my fault. I said no. Actually, it's a quote. I don't know if you've seen the movie Pursuit to Happiness. It just popped up in my mind.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
At
Yeah,
the end
it's a
of the
really good
film,
movie.
Jaden Smith, when he was young, he told his dad, Will Smith, that, what was it? He said basically, like, it was a quote from like God or whatever, where there's a guy sinking in the sea or whatever, and then God said, I'm butchering this analogy,
Mm,
but essentially there was a storm or something. God sent a boat. The guy said, "Nah, nah, nah. God will save me. God will save me."
mm.
Then something else came along, maybe a helicopter. Nah, nah, nah.
I
God will
see what
save
you
me. God will
mean.
save
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Eventually, that guy drowned, goes to
Mm,
heaven, and he says, "God, why didn't you save me?" And then he said, "But I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. I sent
yeah,
you a
yeah.
ship. You just didn't choose to go on
Mm,
it." It's the same concept.
right,
You got
okay.
to be able to spot opportunities
Mm,
when they come to you, and it's a skill in itself. And I
mm.
think the only way you learn is when you miss those opportunities. I certainly have,
Yeah,
but
yeah. And I suppose, I suppose with that then, it's like, although like you might have a goal of like keep going, keep going, keep going, if different opportunities come up, then that's when you might need to, go down a different path, but to get to still maybe the same goal, but in maybe not in the way that you thought it would be,
yeah,
if that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. I think I firmly believe everything happens for a reason,
Mm.
and I think you
So I
put,
suppose you'd still keep going in terms of the working hard, but maybe
yeah,
you're still going, you start to
y-
go down another path due to different opportunities and so on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's in the, like, again, universe is rewarding for those who put in the work,
Mm.
but it also gives you different opportunities, gives you different directions.
Mm.
You just got to be able to adapt, be
Mm.
adaptable there. And I don't know, like, perhaps I'm wrong, right? Like, I'm not saying I'm right. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe being delusional isn't objectively the correct truth.
Mm.
But the way I see it is that if I am delusional and I believe that no matter what, it will happen,
Mm.
then I won't be in a position of self doubt or like what ifs. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I won't be in that position where I'm losing out to this goal because I said,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
And I
I.
suppose if you do have self doubts, there might be reasons behind that because you just might
Yeah,
not have confidence based off, I don't know, certain stuff maybe that's happened in the past, and that's something you've got to work on.
yeah,
But if you know, then maybe that your confidence or your belief is an issue, which I know sometimes, well, definitely in the past it was more of an issue, but it still
yeah,
sometimes is now.
yeah,
That's something I know that I need to work on, whether that be through therapy, whether that be through journaling, whether that be on reflection, whether that be, maybe trying to train myself to think and act differently.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
agree.
know that that's something that you'd want to
Same
work
with
on. So
me.
if you think that's something that maybe gets in the way, then that's like something to maybe look at in terms of, well, how can I
I can't lie, bro.
how can I
I'm the
make that
same.
better?
I'm the
Yeah.
same, bro. Like, I I do doubt myself a lot,
Mm,
especially like my biggest like realization of linking this back just because it just happened, I guess.
Mm.
even when I'm at like work or whatever.
Mm.
There are times when I do like think that, am I good at this, whatever. And
Mm.
at that point, I was like doing okay, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I put in the work and I saw tangible results, like wow, okay, wow, I've been doing this. This is
Mm.
crazy. I've been hitting these.
Yeah.
Then self, like, confidence or belief just kind of grew alongside it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like kind of parallel,
Yeah. I
or
suppose you
like
got to celebrate, yeah, the little goals as well along the way and
yeah.
enjoy the
So
journey. Like.
when you become competent,
Mm.
you become confident. So
Mm.
now I think confidence is very closely linked to competence. So you just got to be able to have those little wins,
Mm.
keep going, celebrate those little wins. Just keep pushing yourself and keep seeing those evidences
Mm-hmm.
or case studies of those wins.
Yeah.
That just kind of grows the self confidence
Mm.
in you, and that fuels you to do better.
Mm.
So it's like as self confidence grows, your ability grows. As
Mm-hmm.
ability grows, your self confidence grows.
Mm.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. That was a cool conversation. It was. Yeah. Because I suppose. Yeah. It is perception and the way that you look at things, and in terms of what's in your control and what's out of your control. There are going to be lots of things out of your control, but there's also going to be lots of things that are in your control. And
Yeah,
although you think, oh, like in the immediate future or in the present, it's not really doing much to help. But if you look more long term, then you think, well, yeah, maybe I'm going to be so happy in maybe next year or in 5 years' time that I'm doing this right now, because hopefully I'm
yeah,
going to be in a better position in next year or in 5 years' time, or closer to the goal that I want to achieve if I'm doing these little steps now. Yeah, so
yeah.
to speak. So
Your future self. Or
yeah,
thank you for
yeah,
that. Nah, man, that was solid. That was solid.
yeah,
That was like breaking down real like topics,
yeah.
and like I
I feel
like
like that was a good one.
that was probably my best one. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.